Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, surprising you through topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we just have a brief little bit of UFC today as we are building our official 2025 March Madness bracket. It is that time of year. March has come, and it is now time for us to make our bracket and pick the first ever perfect bracket in history, right? Maybe someone has done it and they just never put it in officially, but as of right now, no one's ever picked a perfect bracket. Will we be the first? Who knows? But it is fun to do, and that'll be the bulk of today's episode as well, looking at some new UFC fights that have been announced. Along with that, we will also be looking at the NBA and NHL at their current standings, just as a kind of little intro before we get into building our bracket. I don't really have a favorite college basketball team. I mean, I don't really have that much general knowledge. In terms of how I'm going to be picking my bracket, it's going to be very, I like this team, I don't like this team. There's not much research going into this. That's not how you pick a perfect bracket, okay? You're supposed to just pick with your heart, with who you want to win when you're watching the matchup, and I think that's what's most important. And think about it, once it gets down to the Sweet 16, we'll make even more brackets. You know me, I love making brackets. But guys, let's not waste any time. Let's get right on into it with 6 new UFC fights. So the first one up is Marquel Medeiros versus Austin Hubbard. Marquel will be stepping in on short notice in place of, unfortunately, Daniel Zellhuber, who is supposed to fight Austin Hubbard. Daniel Zellhuber pulling out with an injury, which is just painful. Really painful because Austin Hubbard is, I'm not going to say not an easy opponent, but Daniel Zellhuber definitely would have gotten back into the win category. Marquel won his UFC debut over Landon Quinones. We'll see how he does in this opportunity, but I'm probably going to pick Marquel. Nonetheless, Austin Hubbard is a very mediocre fighter. Not to be mean to the guy, but I'm just saying he hasn't really gone to the level that a lot of people thought he would. Runner-up on The Ultimate Fighter, second stint in the UFC, hasn't mounted to much. So we'll see how that goes, but that is on UFC Mexico City, March 29th. Another matchup for you. This one on UFC Vegas 106, May 17th. Hyung Sung Park will be taking on Carlos Hernandez in the men's, flyweight division. Oh my goodness, Hyung Sung Park 9-0, so he's guaranteed to lose. All right, I saw something today on social media, completely lost it. We've had double-digit fighters lose their O in their record so far in 2025, and I just think that's going to continue throughout the year. For Carlos Hernandez, 3-3 in the UFC, 10-4. This is make or break for Carlos Hernandez if he wants to remain in the UFC. I might have to back Hyung Sung Park, but who knows? We'll have to check it out. The biggest matchup that we've had announced, and this one is super fun, for UFC 316, which has a date of June 7th, but no main event or location. Johnny Walker, the number 10 men's light heavyweight, will be taking on the number 12 ranked Azamat Murzakanov. And Azamat 14-0. This is a bad year to be an undefeated fighter for Johnny Walker. It's been a rough streak. Losses to Magomedov Ankalaev, losses to Volkan Ozdemir, losses to, did he fight Bogdan Guskov? Was he supposed to fight him and pulled out? It has just been unreal for him to pick up wins as of late, but nonetheless, 30 professional MMA fights for Johnny Walker. He is nothing but nonstop action. And Azamat, man, that boy hits hard. He knocked out Alonzo Menefield in his last matchup. And before that, he dropped Dustin Jacoby, just about damn near knocked him out as well. Azamat is super entertaining. This will be a fun fight on the main card. I guarantee this is going to be on the main card of UFC 316. Another heavyweight matchup for you, this one in the actual heavyweight, not light heavyweight, for UFC Des Moines, going down May 3rd, as Dontel Mays, who is currently 11-8 in his professional record, 4-6 in the UFC, somehow still in the UFC, no idea how, takes on the 9-3 from Minnesota, Thomas the Train Peterson. Thomas, very mediocre UFC fighter, holds a win over Muhammad Usman. There you go. Or actually, did he beat Muhammad Usman? I think Muhammad Usman is the biggest name for both of these guys. Or no, I guess Dontel Mays knocked out Andre Arlovski, which is pretty good, but that was past his prime. This is run-of-the-mill, bottom-of-the-barrel heavyweight action. I expect nothing from this matchup. Might go with Thomas Peterson, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who's going to be winning this one. It's going to be boring nonetheless. UFC Vegas 105. This one I don't expect too much fireworks either, as the women's strawweight division, I believe it is. Women's strawweight. Luma Lukebunmi back in action for the first time in a while as she takes on Estela Nunes. Estela was supposed to take on Molly McCann. She pulled out for some reason. We'll be doing our predictions tomorrow actually for that. But I don't know necessarily what is going to happen with Estela Nunes now, but she's 6-5 professionally with a draw. Southpaw, so hasn't done much professionally in MMA. 0-4 in the UFC, so they're giving Luma Lukebunmi, who's surprisingly 6-2 in the UFC. I didn't even realize that. Maybe a layup to get a victory. We'll have to see. This is an Apex card. Not too exciting. Final matchup that we know. This one I'm actually excited for. Paul Craig moving back up to light heavyweight after some losses here and there. He'll be taking on Rodolfo Bellato. I love this matchup. Rodolfo won his UFC debut against Ayor Portera, and then he had, I believe it was a draw against someone. Rodolfo had a draw against someone who's, the life of me cannot remember their name. But as for Paul Craig, recently lost to Bo Nickel in a very boring 3-round decision. And that's not mind you, is that he holds wins over 3 light heavyweight champions, that being Magomedov Ankalaev, Shogun Rua, and Jamal Hill. Let's not forget about Paul the Bear Jew Craig, okay? Paul's coming in, he's bringing the intensity, and you know what? I'm picking Paul Craig to win this, and I haven't even seen the rest of the results, so those are all your new UFC fights. Nothing too exciting, but some 2 light heavyweight fights which do pique my interest. I'm actually very interested in both of those. I hope they're entertaining. I really do. I really hope they're entertaining fights. We'll have to see. Moving into another stuff that we'll be discussing on today's episode, and that is the current NBA standings. That is right, the season is just about at an end. We're in the final, I want to say, if I'm guessing correctly, like 14-ish games, maybe 20-ish games, something past then. But here are the current standings for the Eastern and Western conferences. So the best team in the NBA is the Cleveland Cavaliers, 56-12. They have dropped their last 2 after being on a 16-game winning streak. Nonetheless, they hold a 7-game lead over the number 2 team, Celtics. The Boston Celtics, 50-19 on a 3-game win streak. I mean, we know this team is good. They won the championship last year. Doesn't matter if they're going to be ranked number 1 or number 2. They are going to bring it come playoff time. And Jason Tatum is looking to win a Finals MVP this time around. He is a pretty talented player. I can't give it to him. He's always trying to get some clips. He's always clip farming, but he's entertaining nonetheless. Celtics and Cavs have both clinched playoff spots. At number 3, currently, the New York Knicks, who do hold a 5-game edge over the Pacers at number 4. Knicks, 43-24, are coming off of a win the other night. Karl-Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, name the squad. This Knicks team is better than last year, and they're coming for a championship. That Pacers team at 4, 38-29, share a similar record to the Bucks at 5, 38-30, Pistons at 6 with 38-31. They're kind of in a race there, the 4, 5, 6 spot, so we'll see who they end up getting matched with. I know that it's probably going to be Pacers, Bucks, and Pistons. One of those 3 teams will be playing one another in the playoffs. They've all been very even. I mean, what a season turnaround for the Pistons compared to last year. Pacers and Bucks have improved. I will say this Bucks team with Damian Lillard, there's probably been higher expectations, but nonetheless, 30-30, Giannis is still an absolute dog. They've been playing pretty good. Where we see another separation is between the 7 through 10 seeds. So Hawks currently hold the number 7 spot, 33-36 record. Magic at 8, 32-37. We then have a 3-game drop down to the 9 and 10, Bulls 29-39, and Heat 29-39 right there. So looking like Bulls and Heat will be your 2 play-in teams, along with the Magic and Hawks, of course. But you're locked in. Pretty much, I'm not going to see, unless the Hawks can somehow outwin by 5 games the Pistons, Bucks, or Pacers. I don't see that happening. You have your 6 teams locked in for the playoffs, and you have your 4 play-in teams locked in right there. Because the Raptors, 24-45, just atrocious. By the way, the Heat, 29-39, they've dropped the last 8, so potential for the Raptors, don't really see it. 76ers at 12, they've amounted to nothing this year. Nets at 13, 23-46, they've been rough. And Hornets, 17-51, Wizards, 15-52. I think the Hornets might get Cooper Flag. I think they're going to give Cooper Flag to the Hornets. Maybe, I don't know for certain. They might give him to the Raptors. We'll have to see, but it's a stark contrast between the top and the bottom here. Hornets and Wizards, both not even the 20 digits. Wizards are at 15 wins. They absolutely suck. That's your Eastern Conference. Prediction right now, I'm going to pick the Celtics to win the East and go to the NBA Finals. Switching to the West, the conference I actually care about, Thunder. They've clinched a playoff spot, 56-12, 13 games ahead of the Rockets, 3-game win streak, 9-1 their last 10. Yeah. Thunder are definitely going to be the favorites in the West. They don't strike me, though, as a team that's going to win the NBA Finals. They don't have experience, and that showed last year, but we'll have to see. They're still the best team in the Western Conference, and if they continue on this track, they're going to pass Cavs for best team in the league. Number 2 team, like I said, a 13-game discrepancy. Rockets are currently in second on a 7-game heater. 44-25 is their record. Also with the same record is the Nuggets at the number 3 spot. With a 42-25 record, Lakers have won their last 2 after previously dropping a couple of games. LeBron has been out though, and that's evident. That's actually been hurting them. Luka can only do so much on this team. Doesn't have the chemistry that he does with the Mavericks players, so LeBron really needs to return soon if they want to make a run. Same with Rui Hachimura. Need him back. Grizzlies at 5, 43-26. They'll be interesting. They'll certainly be interesting. And I mean, let me just throw in Warriors at 6, 40-29. Timberwolves at 40-30 at the 7. Clippers 39-30 at the 8. There is a huge toss-up between the number 2 and number 8 seeds. Where you see the gap is the Kings are 34-33. 5 games behind the Clippers at 8. So you're going to see a lot of things changing. If it's up to me, just kind of by observation, Timberwolves, Warriors, Clippers are going to be battling for that 6th spot. Grizzlies, Lakers, Nuggets, and Rockets battling for the number 2 spot. Everyone else is just going to mix and match in between there. Looking to get in the play-in spots, Mavericks, Kings, Suns also on the hunt, 32-37. Trailblazers, 30-39. Don't count them out. They're on a 2-game winning streak. They still have potential. Spurs at 13, 28-39. Don't really give them much of a chance. I don't see them outscoring any other teams. Then you have your Pelicans are your Hornets of this division, and the Jazz are the Wizards of this division. I mean, Jazz have lost their last 10 games. They're 15-54. They're bad. They're just a bad team. And as for the Pelicans, I've never seen a bigger bust than Zion Williamson. He's truly a generational bust, and I don't even think it's his fault. I think the program has failed him, but that's your little NBA check-in. Lots of interesting stuff going on in the NBA, and we'll do another check-in next week at some time. Just kind of see what's going on with the NBA. But also what we will check in with is the NHL as well, and similar, we have Eastern Conference, and the team I like most plays in the Western. So starting with the Eastern Conference, and looking at this, they are currently tied for being the best team in the league, but they are the best team in the East. The Washington Capitals with a 45-15-8 record. They have 98 points on the year. 2-game win streak for them, plus 72-point differential. Like I said, Capitals are just one of those teams which always finds themselves at the top. Alexander Ovechkin entering the latter stages of his career. Don't know how much longer we're going to get him. He is still so fun to watch. He's so incredible. And number 2, 13 points back or actually 12 points back from the number 1 spot is the Carolina Hurricanes with 86 points. 7-game win streak for them. They also have over 40-point wins on the year, 41 wins for them. Florida Panthers also have 41 wins. They have 24 losses and 3 draws at 85 points. They're currently the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. They have dropped the last 2, though, which hasn't been too good. I won't lie, though. They are 4-0 in the shootout, which is very impressive. Very good for them. Tampa Bay Lightning at 4 have 83 points. Toronto Maple Leafs at 5 have 83 points. They also are both coming off of wins. New Jersey Devils, last team in the East with currently 80 points. They're at the number 6 spot. Number 7 and 8, you got your Ottawa Senators at 77 points on the year. They also just got Fabian Zetterlund. He's on my fantasy team. Love watching him. And then this is where things are going to get tricky for that 8 spot. You got the Canadiens with 73 points, Islanders with 70, Rangers with 72, Blue Jackets 70, Red Wings 70. There's going to be a battle for the number 8 spot, but I can almost guarantee the 6 teams you currently see with 80 points are making the playoffs. Similar to the NBA, 15 games left, 13 on the season. We're winding down to an end. Bottom of the barrel, Bruins with 69 points. They're 13th. I don't think they're as bad. I just don't know if they can get more points than every team above them to make the playoffs. But hey, anything's possible. Philadelphia Flyers with 64 points. They're probably just going to miss. I don't see them outscoring every other team by 8 points. Just my opinion. And I mean, the Blue Jackets, they've dropped the last 4. So like I said, anything could happen. And then bottom of the barrel, worst team, 60 points, the Buffalo Sabres. So 27-33-6 record. They have won their last 2. They're not going to make the playoffs, but the fact that they're only 13 points back from number 8 seed shows just how good the East is this year. Because we're going to look at the bottom barrel of the West, and it is not as pretty. Prediction for me to win I guess I didn't do prediction for the Western Conference of the NBA. I'm going to go Timberwolves just because I'm a Timberwolves fan, but For the East here, I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Light. Actually, no, I'm going to go Toronto Maple Leafs. I like the Toronto Maple Leafs team for some reason. Their color scheme, something about the Toronto area. I'm going to say they win the East this year. And by the way, this is like weeks out from the playoffs, which we will be doing another playoff episode with all the hockey boys down here. Now, let's move into the West briefly before we get into our March Madness bracket. Number one team, it's just about the same as the NBA. Winnipeg Jets, 98 points, 47, 18-4 record. They have the best record in the NHL. Jets are the Thunder, and the Cavaliers are the Capitals. It's just two top teams in both conferences. Dallas Stars are 9 points behind, so not too far. 43 wins for them, 21 losses, 3 draws. 89 points is not too shabby to being in second place. Golden Knights, 39, 20, and 8 are at 86 points. In the 40-point win category, or 40 wins, I should say. Avalanche, 41 wins. Edmonton Oilers, 40 wins. They have 85 and 84 points, respectively. Actually, both on multiple win streaks. Kings at 6 with 81, and the Wild, the last team in the West, with 81 points. And you know what? I don't want to jinx us, but I think the Wild are going to lock in a playoff spot in that 7-6 range. 5 is a bit, they would need to kind of go on a little win streak here at the end. There's going to be a lot of switch-ups over the next 2 weeks, but I think they're safe for the playoffs. They'll probably have a matchup with the Golden Knights or the Avalanche, maybe even the Stars at this point. So I don't know how it's going to go, but nonetheless, I will be picking them to win the West just because I am a Minnesota fan. At number 8, you got the Canucks currently in the playoffs with 75 points, but tied with them, the Blues also have 75 points. Flames have 73, and the Utah Hockey Club has 71. They're number 11 in the West, so it's going to be probably a 4-team battle for that number 8 spot in the playoffs. By the way, Blues, 3-game win streak. They got a little momentum going right now. Bottom of the barrel, Ducks at 66, Kraken at 65. I just think you're a bit too far behind the 75 points that the Blues and the Canucks have. So, going to kind of diss them out the way. Predators at 58. They're the third worst team in the league. And the second worst team in the league is the Chicago Blackhawks, 20, 39, and 9. They only have 49 points, negative 59 point differential. Very bad 4-game losing streak. Nothing's improved from last year. And by the way, San Jose, 18, 41, and 9, only 45 points, negative 77 point differential. They're already eliminated from the playoffs, and they're just, I don't know. They're so bad. They're just so bad. I have no words for how bad they are. And I don't know what you're going to do with that Blackhawks and that Sharks team to turn them around. You're going to kind of need just a full revamp. Kind of how the Rockets and Pistons and even the Commanders for the NFL get lucky and they turn from bad to good. But these teams are the Carolina Panthers, and the Carolina Panthers' future doesn't look too bright. So if the playoffs were to start today, you would have the Wild coming in as the number 1 wild card team. Canucks at 2, which means I think the Wild, I don't know who they'd play. Would they play the Jets or Stars then? I don't really know how it works personally, but certainly it's going to get interesting down the rest of the road. But those are your NHL hockey standings. And I'm excited to see how the rest of the season winds up. After this podcast is over, I'm actually going to go watch the rest of the Wild game with my buddies. So that'll be super fun, and that'll probably be before we know it, because now it's time to make our official March Madness bracket. We have the paper. If you hear me writing with paper and pen, just know that's how authentic we like to make it. And we actually know all but one winner of the first 4 games, I should better say. But I do want to say we'll go region by region here. So starting off, Auburn is going to be playing, I believe it is Mount St. Mary's. And it didn't matter who they were playing. We are picking Auburn to move on from the first round in our bracket. And I could even say this safely as I look through all the number 1 seeds. I'm picking every number 1 seed to win. Give me Florida over Norfolk State. Norfolk State would be a huge upset if they won. Give me Duke over Alabama State. Gonna be honest, no idea what Alabama State has to offer. That again would be another huge upset. And then, where I think you could see the biggest upset, SIU Edwardsville over Houston. If I had to pick a 16 seed, that's what I would pick, but I am going to pick Houston. And I know that we've had multiple number 1 seed upsets in the past few years compared to ever, so now is the best time to get 1s over 6 or 16s over 1s, but I'm looking more so at a 15 over a 2 this year. I know everyone's saying the 1s and 2 seeds aren't losing, but this is March Madness. No one predicts a perfect bracket. You gotta get spicy with some of your predictions. Let's go back up to who I think will be playing Auburn in the second round. We have Louisville and Creighton, and I don't really have a preference when it comes to these teams. Louisville 27-7, Creighton 24-10, but I like me a little Lamar Jackson, so I am going to pick Louisville to move on. They are the 8th seed, and I always like to mix it up with maybe picking 2 8 seeds and 2 9 seeds. That's just kind of how I view it. So we're bouncing around here on the bracket, but Auburn versus Louisville is going to be my second round matchup, and if I had to be honest there, I'll hold off because I feel like if there's going to be a number 1 versus number 8 upset, it may happen there, but we'll get back to that in a second. Next up, Michigan takes on the 30-4 UC San Diego team. And, my dad's company works for Alro Steel. They are big Michigan people. His name's not Alro, but Al, who started the company, big donator to Michigan. And I really have a great time watching Michigan basketball. I still remember that Jordan Poole buzzer beater to send them to the championship. So legendary. And I feel like this 5-seed UC San Diego team, they go 30-4. They aren't playing the caliber of teams that Michigan is playing in my mind. Now, mind you, this is one game. Anything could happen. But I feel like this is an upset a lot of people may be targeting, so I'm not going to target it. I'm going to move Michigan on into the second round. And I always feel like they're not a team to go one and done. Maybe if they were a first 4 type of play-in team, but unlike some others, I think Michigan will move on to the round of 32. Next up, Texas A&M and Yale, and this is when we get into our fun predictions here. Now, I understand a lot of people are picking Yale to win, but I just feel you always got to send an Ivy League school into the round of 32, and Texas A&M is one of those teams which always bust my bracket, and I feel like I have another team like that too, where I always pick them to win, and they always lose. Okay, and we've done our conspiracy episodes. We know about the Skull and Bones Society. We already know Yale has their roots into making it to the next round. Give me the number 13 seeded Yale over number 4 seeded Texas A&M. And Texas A&M, 22-10, not too bad of a record, but a 4 seed? Does this team strike you as a 4 seed? I don't really know. I don't really watch them, but we're going to go with Yale to take on Michigan in the round of 32. Next up, Ole Miss takes on UNC, and I've had UNC moving on in all of my brackets. I just watched them do foul things to San Diego State last night. I mean, at halftime, we knew the game was over. At halftime, we knew they weren't winning. The second half wasn't any better. And as for Ole Miss, I don't know a kid well, but I do know a kid named JP who goes to Ole Miss. You've heard about the whole thing with Mary Kate sleeping with her boyfriend's dad. That's happening at Ole Miss. Ole Miss has Jackson Dart. They don't need basketball. Ole Miss is a football school, okay? Ole Miss is not here to play basketball. All right, and I'll tell you who is a basketball school. And that's UNC. And they got RJ Davis. They got Armando Bacot. And they are losing in the first round. And we always got to send one first 4 team into the second round. And I'm never picking a 16 first 4 seed. If I ever pick a 16 seed, it'll be one of the 2 teams that didn't have to play to get into the tournament. So for this one, we will be sending UNC into the round of 32. Who will they be playing? Iowa State or Lipscomb? And I've heard a lot of people picking Lipscomb. Lipscomb would be a big upset if they win. I kind of go, dang, I should have picked them. But just there's nothing that's appetized me about me. I mean, even their logo is an L. And I think they're going to be getting an L once this game is all said and done. And Iowa State, they made a good run last year. I feel like this is a team to make a run this year if they start getting hot. And I'm not going to pick Lipscomb. I'm more confident with a Yale over Texas A&M than I am with a Lipscomb over Iowa State. So we are going to go Iowa State to move into the second round. Rounding out our first bracket, I don't know if it's the South region or something. Do we start with the South region? Can't really recall, but number 7 seeded Marquette taking on number 10 seeded New Mexico. And this is very interesting to me because these 7 and 10 seeds always seem to get me. They really do. They always seem to get me. But as I've been looking around my bracket, I kind of like to split up my 7 and 10s. And as I was looking at some others, I'm not going to be picking some 10 seeds over any others. So if it were to go with this one, New Mexico failed me last year. Okay, it was either New Mexico or New Mexico State, but they failed me. And they have a better record than Marquette. And Marquette, I have no interest in Marquette. Gonna be honest, was that where? No, John Morant went somewhere else. Some good player went to Marquette and they played John Morant. They played Murray State in the March Madness. If anyone knows that, let me know. But there's just something about New Mexico that's speaking to me. They're one of the few 10 seeds that I want to pick. I can easily see myself getting this wrong, but New Mexico, we're going to ride with you. What are they, the Bobcats or something? I don't know, the Wolverines, the Carnivores. There's something. New Mexico over Marquette. Then, here we are. Michigan State, the number 2 seed, taking on Bryant. Michigan State not ranked at the start of the year. Fun fact, Fishing as the number 2 seed. They've been on an incredible run, 27-6. And this Bryant team is just begging me. It is begging me to pick them, but I just can't. I just can't pick Michigan State to win. I know we can bring up Memphis or Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, who beat Michigan when they had Denzel Valentine. We can bring up that team, but I have a 2 versus 15 I'm going to be picking, and it's not going to be Bryant. But if Bryant wins, I'll be more than happy. I love upsets in March Madness. I'm not someone who, if their bracket gets busted, I get sad. I just love watching the upsets and the emotions these kids have. I mean, these kids are my age, 18 and 22 years old. I love seeing it. We got some 24-year-olds out there, some 25-year-olds. Like, guys, move on from college. But we got our first round settled for the South region, maybe? I don't know. One of the regions. They all kind of blend together for me. Moving down, of course, Florida over Norfolk State. We already moved all our number 1 seeds on. And then we have the number 8 seeded UConn against the number 9 seed Oklahoma. And I just think you still have the head coach. His name's evading me, the bald guy, led them to 2 national championships. He is not dropping round 1, even with a completely revamped squad. No Donovan Klinger, no Stephon Castle, no stud players like, oh my gosh, so many dogs. Thinking of someone on the Suns. They had so many good players on these last 2 years of UConn. UConn's not dropping round 1 to Oklahoma. Oklahoma is not getting it done. You can keep Trae Young. You can keep Buddy Hield. They are not getting it done. Did Trae Young go to Oklahoma? I think he went to Oklahoma. But UConn moving on to the round of 32, and this is a team that I think could make a run just because of how good their head coach is. Who even is actually their head coach? We'll search it up live on the podcast here. We always love to do things live. Nothing's really edited here. Dan Hurley, who's actually offered a position by the Lakers, and he turned it down because he just loves UConn basketball. So Florida versus UConn in the round of 32. Next up, number 5 seeded Memphis versus the number 12 seed Colorado State. And this is just one of those things. I've been writing Memphis off in all my brackets, which means Memphis is probably going to win. But Colorado State, I picked them last year. They didn't get done. Unlike other teams, I don't have beef. Colorado State, I am predicting to win as a 12 seed over the 5 seed. And this is just because there's actually a player on here that went to a Minnesota town in Faribault, who actually one of my friends apparently went to high school with. So I'm like, gotta pick Colorado State. And honestly, not the biggest Memphis fan. I mean, me and Ryan, we just watched a documentary or something about gangs down there. I ain't rocking with them. We're rocking with Colorado State. Could be a good upset. Maybe they'll lose in the first round, but we're picking them to win. After that, this one is so tricky for me. This is one that I've had my head puzzled. Number 4 seed in Maryland, number 13 seed Grand Canyon. I love Maryland as just a 4 seed to just sneak their way not only into the Sweet 16, but the Elite 8. But it all comes down to if they can win this game. And by the way, GCU, big on prayer, saw it on the bench. My roommate actually went there with another one of our friends his freshman year of college. I actually think I know some people that were a grade above me that went to GCU. But GCU, Grand Canyon University, lost last year. There was a lot of hype on them. They didn't come through. And this Maryland team, let me just tell you, boys, I had a layover in Maryland. All right, I was in Baltimore. They got themselves some good seafood. They also got themselves a banger airport. And this Maryland team, for just some reason, strikes me as a team that's going to be like, okay, Grand Canyon is the upset pick to make, and Maryland comes out and blows them out the water. So we're going to pick number 4 seed Maryland to advance. Will it pay off for me? I don't know. Maybe Memphis will make the Sweet 16, and that little 4-team bracket will just absolutely bite me, but who knows? Moving along, number 6 seeded Missouri versus number 11 seeded Drake. And Drake went 30-3 on the year. Missouri 22-11. So Drake has experienced more winning, but honestly, I don't care for Kendrick Lamar. I don't care for Drake. That's none of my beef. I actually think there was a girl 2 grades above me that went to Missouri. I saw a TikTok about how Missouri is supposed to be this damn good team that's either going to make the Sweet 16 or they're going to lose to Drake. I just think Drake is one of those teams that has not played at high-level teams as Missouri's playing. And so for that, I think there's some 6 and 11s I've picked where I've gone with the 11 seed. For this one, I'm going to ride with the 6-seeded Missouri to move into the second round. Who will they be playing? Texas Tech or UNC Wilmington? UNC Wilmington just screams. No one's going to pick them as an upset. They're going to win, but Texas Tech, my current favorite professor, Yen Pai, he went to Texas Tech. It's where he got his degree. It's where he learned how to teach. I watched them play. 2019 March Madness, Final Four. I watched this team. I know Texas Tech not only has good football, Patrick Mahomes, but also good basketball. So UNC Wilmington, I don't know a damn thing about you. You went 27-7, but we're going with the number 3 seeded Texas Tech. I got him. Got ride with you, Texas Tech. All right, final four for this little category. Maybe the Eastern Division could be mystery. Number 7 seed Kansas, number 10 seed Arkansas. And I know there's like this apparent coach matchup between St. John's and Arkansas, like some old coaching rivalry. And I really want that to be the case. I really want that to be the case. I love when like you get those storylines here, like if you were to get UNC and Duke playing each other, or Michigan State, teams like that, or where you've had South Carolina and North Carolina play each other. But I don't know. This Kansas team just strikes me as a team that is not losing to Arkansas. And Kansas losing in round one is just not on my bingo card. I feel like Kansas is always a team that is able to win at least one or two games, make the Sweet 16 Final Four. They're very talented. So I am going to pick Kansas to beat Arkansas. I hope Arkansas wins. So this is one of those matchups where Kansas wins, my bracket's complete. Arkansas wins. I'm just going to assume we're going to go to the next one real quick. St. John's, I am picking them to beat Omaha. People don't think St. John's is going deep in the tournament, but I think they'll get past Omaha. Omaha is playing former D3 teams, in actually D2 maybe, in St. Thomas down here in Minnesota. So Omaha, I give them no chance. But if Arkansas can't get past Kansas, I would love to see that coaching rivalry matchup between St. John's and Arkansas. And apparently the St. John's head coach, was it Rick Pitino? He's like a mob boss or something. My buddy Tyler was telling me, you already know, I love me some mafia. I love me Italy. I'm going there. So we're going to ride with St. John's and Kansas on that little bottom bracket. Keeping our first round moving. And by the way, if you want to trail my picks, please do. Maybe we'll pick a perfect bracket. Mississippi State and Baylor. And look, I was thinking Mississippi State all tournament long. And then I look back at my predictions last year, and Mississippi State failed me as a prediction. They aren't failing me this year. We're going Baylor. Baylor knows how to play basketball. They can rebound. Give me Baylor over Mississippi State. It's personal. It's personal. Give me Baylor all day. Next up there, you got number 5 seed Oregon, number 12 seed Liberty. I have been counting Liberty out in every bracket I make. And I don't know if it's just, I just think Oregon's better, which they probably are. I don't really know too much about them. Oregon 24-9, Liberty 28-6. But I don't think Liberty's playing as good a teams as Oregon is. Okay, and I looked how good Oregon did in college football. I think it's going to translate. Give me Oregon over Liberty. And I love Liberty. Okay, I love Liberty and I love freedom. But as for Liberty as a college, I'm going with Oregon. Who will they be playing? Either the number 4 seeded Arizona or the number 13 seeded Akron. And this one's been kind of eating at me because I know Arizona historically chokes in the first 2 rounds. So Arizona will not be in my Sweet 16. But it's just a matter of if they lose in the round of 32 or they lose here. Now, apparently, Akron made it last year. They've never won a tournament game. They will win eventually. Every team wins eventually. Will it be this year? I don't know. I'm going to give Caleb Love the benefit of the doubt. Send him off in the sunset with at least one March Madness win. But I'll leave it up for debate. So we're going to go with Arizona to advance past the round of 64. So that's what we're going to go with here. Arizona, Oregon, a little 4-5 seed. I think that'll be a fun matchup. After that, BYU versus VCU, 6 versus 11. And these 11 seeds, I love picking them. I really do. But I already picked UNC. I resisted picking Drake. And we're going to get down to another 11 seed later, who I kind of want to pick. I can't lie. There's something about the 11 seeds that are so enticing for no reason, too. For no reason, but I don't know if 6 seeds historically win. Like I said, this is a no research bracket. The brackets that you research are usually the ones you do the worst on. So BYU, VCU, Birmingham Young, they do kind of strike me as a team that can win, move past round 1. But I don't know, something about if I'm watching this game, I'm going to root for VCU. So give me VCU over BYU. Look, them BYU, the Birmingham and Young boys, they can keep to themselves. Give me VCU all day. Then here we go. Number 3 seed Wisconsin, number 14 seed Montana. This is a team I've written off. Okay, Montana, what do they have? Beautiful country, natural stars. You get the Wild West out there almost, all right? You get some good wildlife. I'll tell you what you don't get. You don't get good basketball programs, okay? Montana, look, 25-9, good for them, 14 seed. I hate Wisconsin. Not a Wisconsin fan at all. Look, I love their food. I love their alcohol. I love the experience you get in lacrosse and Eau Claire. You get great experience. Packers games are even fun, even though I'm not a Packers fan. You're not winning. Okay, you're not winning if you're in Montana and when you're playing Wisconsin. So give me Wisconsin to win, and it pains me because I think Wisconsin's probably going to make the Sweet 16. But we'll do our round of 32 predictions in just a second. After that, St. Mary's at 7, Vanderbilt at 10. I've written Vanderbilt off all day, and I just think St. Mary's is a team to win their round one matchup. So 7/10, I'm going to go with St. Mary's. There really isn't a reason at all. I just don't think Vanderbilt's going to win. But if they win, hey, my bracket's busted, is what it is. And then the final one for this, what do you want to call it, region? Is this the North region, maybe? Beats me. Number 2, Alabama. Number 15, Robert Morris. This would be a massive upset if Robert Morris wins. But this Alabama team, I remember them last year. They are so freaking good. They are so freaking good. This is a team that I might as well just say now is going to be in my Elite 8. I hate sending the 2 seeds there, but Alabama is a 2 seed for a reason. And had all the 1 seeds not been as good as they are, Alabama would be a 1 seed this year. So, also my mom's best friend since she's been little. All her kids went to Alabama. So, got to root for them. Kevin and Mary Kate. And I'm sorry, all the others' names I'm forgetting, but there you have it. Then the final region, which I can only assume is the South, just to guess. Midwest, who knows? It doesn't really matter. I think it's by region is where the games are played, or then maybe it's just how they divvy up the bracket. But Houston over SIU Edwardsville. If there's going to be an upset, it's going to be from Houston. I don't see Auburn, I don't see Florida, and I don't see Duke dropping 16 seed games, but I could see Houston dropping one to SIU Edwardsville. I'm not picking it. I will never be the guy to predict a 16 seed. I mean, who'd ever thought Virginia and Purdue would both lose? And both of those teams they lost to were just absolute buns. I mean, holy cow. So we're going to pick Houston. Easy all day. Will they make it to the round of 16? We'll have to see them. Number 8 seeded Gonzaga takes on number 9 seeded Georgia. And I've gone with 8 seeded Louisville. I've gone with 8 seeded UConn. And I've gone with number 9 seeded Baylor. I feel like I should go with a 9 seed here. Do Georgia for Anthony Edwards. But I don't know. Gonzaga is just such a basketball school. They really are. They're your Baylors. They're your UConns. They're your UNCs. Gonzaga's not dropping round 1. If they do, Anthony Edwards will be a happy camper. Next up, number 5 seed Clemson and number 12 seeded McNeese. And McNeese, I just love. I love their players. I love their vibes. But that would truly be March Madness miracle if they could win their game against Clemson. They have such a fun squad. I really hope they do, but I just don't know if I can pick them. I remember watching Clemson last year. They are so freaking good. This Clemson program is still good. I know the team didn't change too much compared to last year. They did lose some heaters, but I would love to pick McNeese. I think, did I pick a 12 seed? Have we picked a 12 seed to advance yet? We went with Colorado State. We're not getting multiple 12 seeds here. Give me Clemson over McNeese all day. Kill the hype train, even though I kind of like the hype train. Who will they be playing? Number 4 seeded Purdue or number 13 seeded High Point. High Point has been everyone's fan favorite prediction to make it, and they're a fun team. 29-5. Their name is High Point. That's all we know. And Purdue is known to choke. So I think, for just the fun of it, I have multiple 4 versus 5 matchups all around. I got Oregon and Arizona, but then I also have Michigan yet. Then I also got Colorado State, Maryland. So do I spice it up here and go with High Point? I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I'm going to go Purdue. I can't help myself. I got to go with the 4 versus the 5. I've been picking too many upsets, honestly, but that's kind of what you got to do. Next up, Illinois will play the winner of Texas and Xavier, and I'm picking Illinois all day because my whole family's from Illinois, and plus Texas and Xavier don't strike me as teams to really make it if they were to get into the bracket. So there you have that. Kentucky takes on Troy in the 3 versus the 14 seed, and because I'm going with another upset in just a moment, we're going with Kentucky. There's just no way Kentucky loses round 1 again upset. I don't know if this Kentucky team is good. Kentucky's really hit or miss. They're either out in the first 2 or they're making it to the Elite 8 Final 4, but I feel like this Kentucky team's good. And Troy, I don't know anything about Troy. I know that what's his name? Who's the famous actor? Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt was in a movie called Troy. That's all I know about Troy. And I think there was a guy above me in high school. His name was Troy. Number 7 and 10, UCLA and Utah State. My girlfriend's friend, you want to call him, or just part of her little friend group, his girlfriend goes to UCLA. Or actually, I think she used to. It was freshman year. I think she dropped out. Couldn't take the heat. But Utah State, they failed me last year on picks. I'm going with UCLA all day. She go to UCLA. There's a song about that. Kind of escaped my mind. And then finally, Tennessee at 2, Wofford at 15, and I shouldn't do it. I shouldn't do it. I've been told this year is not the year to pick the 16 and 15 seeded upsets, but damn it, I can't stand Tennessee for some reason. I'd rather have Tennessee make the Final Four and bust my whole bracket than not pick them. Not pick against them is what I'm trying to say. Give me Wofford all day. You'd be like, Zach, you're crazy. Picking a 7 versus a 15. Why would you pick Wofford to beat Tennessee? Well, I'll tell you why, young Jimmy. And that's because I remember watching this one little white boy. He was this little point guard. He was skinny. He was small. He wasn't even 6 feet tall. And he was an absolute hooper. And he went to Wofford. He's probably graduated by now, but he went there. They're in the tournament. I don't even know how. What's even their record? They're 19 and 15. They're not even that good. But Tennessee, I'm just going with them to get upset. So we're picking Wofford. I'm probably going to regret this, but Wofford over Tennessee. It's March Madness. I don't give a bleep. Alrighty, back to the top of the bracket for the round of 32. Auburn versus Louisville. I don't know if I want to send every 1 seed to the, Sweet 16. I never really like to do that. I think last year was one of the first few years that they actually had it done. But as I look around at all the potential upsets that could occur, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to say that Auburn advances. I'm going to send Auburn to the Sweet 16. I like this Auburn team. They're at the top of the bracket. They're the first matchup anyone will predict when they make their bracket. 28-5, and plus, I have seen this team since they made the Final Four, and when I was at the games live in 2019, this Auburn team has been consistent with bringing in new players, developing players. They have veteran presence. They have young guns. I think they get past Louisville, and Auburn versus Louisville feels like a football rivalry right there. Okay, so you get a little Cam Newton versus Lamar Jackson. I guess we're riding with Cam Newton. Who will be playing them in the Sweet 16, Michigan or Yale? And I do want to send at least 2 double-digit seeds, or like seeds you wouldn't really expect, to the Sweet 16, but Michigan versus Yale. Do I go with Skull and Bones, or do I go with my dad's company? I'm going to go with Michigan, and Michigan could get upset by UC San Diego. They could lose here and there, but I just see Michigan making it as a little 5th seed into the Sweet 16. It's always interesting to see that. I'm going to ride with Michigan. I don't really hate Michigan as much as some people do. Then we have our 11th-seeded first 4 team, UNC, taking on number 3-seeded Iowa State. And I know that this UNC team lost a lot of games to good teams. But you got to remember, they're playing Dukes. They're playing Kentucky's. They're playing absolutely amazing teams all year. And I'm not trying to discredit Iowa State, but UNC is too fun not to send to the Sweet 16. Everyone counted them out. People thought they shouldn't be in the tournament. I'm sending UNC to the Sweet 16. Man, as I reflect on that, I feel like I'm going to regret it, but we're just doing it. We're sending UNC over Iowa State. We're not even thinking twice about it. Then, New Mexico versus Michigan State, 10 versus 2. These are always interesting. New Mexico would be a team to make the Sweet 16, would they? New Mexico would be a team to make the Sweet 16, but I'm going to say Michigan State. They still have momentum. They're still running. New Mexico, I feel like Michigan State's been blessed with the 2 seed here. I think they're getting past anyone who they play. I'm sending Michigan State into the Sweet 16. Plus, my cousin Ryan almost went there. I think the only reason he didn't is because Iowa looked more fun, so we'll go with Michigan State, take on UNC in the Sweet 16. Then we move down to our bottom left side bracket, Florida versus UConn. I mean, all the 1 seeds can't win, right, guys? There's no way all the number 1 seeds win. Will Florida be the one to get knocked out? I don't know. I don't know who to pick to win, because it's like Auburn doesn't really strike me as the team to win. Florida kind of does. Well, Florida has such a tough bracket. This bottom left side, whatever is the South region, if you want to call it that, they got some killer teams in here. But if we got to decide Florida versus UConn, Dan Hurley, if he's getting past Oklahoma, I would hope he can get past Florida, but Florida is so good. 30-4. I mean, you have to think, we have 3 number 1 seeds that got into the 30-win category, which is so tough with the schedules that they have to play. So as much as I would love to see Florida lose, I don't think Florida's losing here. I'm sending Florida past UConn, but if UConn can channel that energy for the past 2 years, they can get it done. Colorado State versus Maryland. Look, I already got number 11 seed UNC. I'm not sending Colorado State all this way. I think Maryland is as good as they claim to be. And by the way, you have to think Memphis, Colorado State, Maryland, or Grand Canyon will be making it to the Sweet 16. I like Maryland out of those 4 teams to represent. Moving into the bottom half of that, Missouri versus Texas Tech. And I've been told Missouri's a good team, but I've also been told Texas Tech has some freaking dogs. We're going to keep riding with Texas Tech. We're not going to ride with Texas Tech all the way, but as a 3 seed, I like them going into my Sweet 16. Then Kansas St. John's. This one's tough because I sent Kansas over Arkansas. And mind you, I just think no matter which way, whether it be Kansas or Arkansas, it is tough to decide if this 2-seeded St. John's is truly a number 2. Mind you, 30-4, but it's a one-off year. Are they as good as people think they are? Do they make it to the Sweet 16? Does Rick Pitino take me? You know what? If Tyler hadn't told me, if good old Brishke hadn't told me, yeah, Rick Pitino's a mob boss, I wouldn't have gone with them. But, I mean, I had a professor who went to Kansas. He said Kansas was boring. Kansas may breed some basketball boys, but this year, Kansas is 21-12. They may be getting past Arkansas. They ain't getting past St. John's. Give me St. John's to the Sweet 16. Oh, man, 2 and 3 seed, and I really am starting to regret that. But guess what? We ride with it. Moving back up to the Duke side of things, Duke versus Baylor. Give me Duke all day. If Duke's getting upset, I don't see it happening here. Plus, I kind of do like rooting for Duke. It's just something fun to root about Duke here and there. And because I love Grayson Allen, I love that Marvin Bagley, Jahlil Okafor, that 2014 team, one of my favorite teams of all time. I just think it's about time that they get things going. They're going to beat Baylor here. Whether it's Baylor or Mississippi State, I think Duke has a low-key free trip to the Sweet 16. I think out of all the 1 seeds, they probably have the best chance to make it. And by the way, they are the number 1 team in the country. Oregon and Arizona. This is a very interesting matchup. And I think this boils down to Arizona's not making it to the Elite 8. Okay, I'll cut Arizona out right there. But a Sweet 16 run doesn't seem out of the cards. And this Oregon team, I've been honestly writing off Liberty, left, right, and center. I think that I don't know how good this Oregon team is, though. So I'm just going to say, Caleb Love, just for the cinema, this is pure cinema, Caleb Love leads his number 4 seed Arizona against number 5 Oregon, wins that matchup, and he will be retired from college basketball facing his just career rival in the Duke Blue Devils. So give me Arizona to go to the Sweet 16. I think this is their 1 year now and then where they get past the first 2 rounds and make it to the Sweet 16. Then we have the number 11 seeded VCU taking on the number 3 seeded Wisconsin. Whether it's BYU, whether it's VCU, I think Wisconsin's making the Sweet 16. I mean, I hope Wisconsin gets upset, but I just don't really see it. I don't really see it with this team that we have right here. And I mean, they had a pretty good run. I mean, 9 losses to 26 wins. Can't really beat that. They win the Big Ten then. If they win 26-9, they must have won the Big Ten, if I'm looking at that correctly. So maybe Wisconsin is absolutely nasty. They'll be representing that little 4-team group in the Sweet 16. St. Mary's, Alabama. Look, Alabama's similar to Duke. They just have a gimme. Whether they have to play St. Mary's, Vanderbilt, or Robert Morris, that combination, Alabama is going to the Sweet 16. Like I said, this Alabama team is worthy of a number 1 seed. They are very freaking good. You have Mark Sears and that tall white boy whose name is just completely going over my head. He's got the mustache. This Alabama team's good. Moving into the Houston side of things, Houston and Gonzaga, and I don't know. I was debating Louisville over Auburn. I was debating UConn over Florida, but this Gonzaga team is just nothing special, really. 25-9 or 25-8, whatever the record is. It's just nothing too special. And Houston, 30-4, is just always a team that I feel sneaks their way into the Sweet 16. I really do. But the one thing I want to say is if I have Houston with the teams I'm looking at, Houston at this rate is going to make the Final Four. I don't know if Houston strikes me as that. Houston strikes me as a regular season team. So I'm going to go, oh gosh, I think we got to get risky here, boys. We can't get too risky, but we got to get risky. This Houston bracket, the Houston bracket side, if you want, wherever that is, the Midwest region, your Tennessee, your Kentucky, your Purdue, your McNeese, your Clemson, your Houston, this bracket, this region, this bottom right corner is going to mess so many people up, including me. I actually love the other 3. This one is just all screwy, so honestly, I'm going to give Houston the win here. I was debating Gonzaga. I'm sending all number 1 seeds to the Sweet 16. I just think, I've just been hearing all these things that this is the best 1 seeds we've ever had, all 4 in a tournament. And as I look at the rest of the pack, I think you're really going to need a March Madness miracle for Houston to not win this. Clemson versus Purdue. Look, if Purdue's getting past High Point, that's as far as they're going to go. Give me Clemson all day. I'm remembering this Clemson team from last year. Yeah. Clemson all day. Plus, I kind of like Clemson. Maybe not so much in football, but watching them play. Deshaun Watson went to Clemson. That's all you need to know. But actually, so did Trevor Lawrence. So there's a positive. Illinois versus Kentucky. And look, if Kentucky's not losing to Troy, then they're losing to Illinois. Okay, I think Kentucky makes it to the Sweet 16. They make a little rebound from last year. Usually a team that gets outed by an upset in the first round is able to rebound and advance to the round of Sweet 16, whatever I'm trying to say. So Kentucky over Illinois. I don't really hate Kentucky. Kind of rock with that blue color scheme. Then my 7th seed UCLA versus number 15 seed Wofford. And I looked it up, and there's some stat that 15 seeds are 2-1 versus 7 seeds. But I'm starting to regret not having Tennessee win, if I'm being honest. I feel like Tennessee always wins. But we're standing by Wofford. We're standing by UCLA, and son of a bitch, I just cursed, I'm sorry, but give me Wofford over UCLA. I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel like everyone's looking at your Omahas. Everyone's looking at your Bryants. Everyone's looking at your Robert Morrises. No one's looking at Wofford as a team to upset. Wofford to the Sweet 16. There we have it. So if we're doing if my bracket's completely 100%, we have a 1 versus 5 matchup in the Sweet 16, an 11 versus 2, a 1 versus 4, a 2 versus 3, a 1 versus 4, a 3 versus 2, a 1 versus 5, and a 3 versus 15. That's not too unrealistic, if you ask me. I'm going to be honest. That's not too unrealistic in my eyes. I will say not having a single 8 seed really does kind of feel kind of awkward, but hey, this is our official bracket. I'm standing by it. So, moving back to the top, Auburn and Michigan. This is where things get kind of weird. You kind of have different games played. When you watch the round of 32, that's where all your magic happens. Okay, but then you get your Sweet 16 Elite 8 weekend. And that is where things get even crazier. Your Final Four weekend is less crazy. I'm going to be honest, you get really competitive games, but if you're not a 1 through 4 seed, you're usually getting blown out at this point. So, Auburn versus Michigan, who will I be having represent? Who will I be having represent in the Elite 8? And I said, look at these teams. Auburn just strikes me as a team. They can play depth. Michigan's going to need an upset here in my eyes to win. But if they've gotten past UC San Diego, if they've gotten past Yale, they're running to an Auburn team that has beaten some 16 seed, Alabama State or some garbage, and then Louisville. So this is tricky. Mind you, this is me just spitballing live on air. I don't know. I think I might go with Michigan here to kind of kick things off with an upset. I'm kind of getting that vibe. And then as I look around, I look at all my number 1 seeds. I can't send all number 1 seeds to the Elite 8. I know that. If I've sent them all to the Sweet 16, they are not all making it. So if I'm going to knock anyone out here, I think it's going to be Auburn here. I'm going to send Michigan to the Elite 8 in just crazy fashion because I like making weird brackets. After that, UNC and Michigan State, and this is so tricky because it's so tempting to make Michigan State versus UNC. And the UNC and Michigan State are two teams that everyone has just said is not going to make a run. So the fact if these two actually end up playing in the Sweet 16, that would just be utterly ridiculous. So I am actually, Michigan State's a 2 seed. They've been on an absolute run as of late. But UNC's made it this far, if they have. So, and by the way, UNC could lose in round 1. For goodness, all I care. So we're actually going to send UNC because I don't give a damn. We're sending UNC to the Elite 8 as an 11 seed. They're going to give me 2021. What is that, UCLA? That Jaquez Jr. team? Gosh, Johnny Juzang. That's what I'm thinking of, Johnny Juzang. Dude, there are some dogs on that team. So UNC and Michigan, we have a little 5 versus first 4 11 seed in my Elite 8. My bracket is so cooked, boys. Florida versus Maryland in this side of the bracket. I love Maryland. I think they could beat Florida, but if I'm not sending Auburn, then I got to send Florida. So we're going to say this Florida team makes it. All I've heard is how good they are. And by the way, I heard they have a 7'9" kid who's being redshirted. So they got plans for next year as well. Texas Tech, St. John's. I think this is where St. John's runs into just a crazy program. I understand Kansas is good, but this Texas Tech team is just driven. They're ambitious. They're getting it done. Give me Texas Tech to go to the Elite 8. So Texas Tech over St. John's. And by the way, I would love for St. John's to make a run this year. I love when teams that don't historically win, but I think St. John's just, they have that magic through the first 2 rounds, and then they take the week's break, and Texas Tech goes back to their dominant formation. Jumping up to Duke in Arizona. Yeah. All I know about Arizona is they got Caleb Love. That's all I know, and Duke is freaking Duke. If Cooper Flag's healthy, I mean, that team is absolutely scary. Duke has the most wins in college basketball at 31, only 3 losses. Duke is not losing just yet. Wisconsin versus Alabama. This is going to be probably the best game so far, and I think it's what everyone really has in their Sweet 16. For me, I don't know enough about Wisconsin compared to what I know about Alabama to pick Wisconsin. Plus, like I said, not a huge Wisconsin fan, so I'm going to go with Bama to beat Wisconsin, and Alabama will advance to the Elite Eight, actually, to take on Duke in what will just be a surreal game to watch. Houston versus Clemson. If I already sent a 5-seed Michigan, I can't send a 5-seed Clemson. So give me Houston over Clemson. Then we have number 3-seed Kentucky and number 15-seed Wofford. This is where Wofford's magic ends. And by the way, I still think Tennessee's going to make it, but I rode with Wofford this far. Plus I wrote in pencil. Plus we're doing this live one take. We're not changing it. Give me Kentucky to the Elite Eight, which is always a risky pick with Kentucky. I'm going to be honest, Kentucky really just likes to choke sometimes. So, in our Elite Eight, we have a 5 versus 11, a 1 versus 3, a 1 versus 3, and a 1 versus a 2. Honestly, not that ridiculous in my eyes. So, Michigan, UNC, I don't know how good this Michigan team is, and honestly, I don't know how they got this far, but come on. First 4, like I said, they remind me of this UCLA team from a few years ago. I think they're just going to keep on winning, and people are going to go, there's no freaking way they're doing it. Give me UNC to the Final Four. I have issues, guys. I understand. I don't know why I'm picking it, but I'm sending UNC to the Final Four. Florida, Texas Tech. This is tricky for me, because you always got an oddball in there, and as of right now, we don't really have any oddballs except for UNC. I don't want to send all number 1 seeds to the Final Four. So you got Duke, Bama, Houston, Kentucky, and Florida, Texas Tech. This is really weird. I don't know. Here's the thing. I don't know who to go with here because I'm kind of just going to do all my predictions at once here. Duke, Bama, Houston, Kentucky, Florida, Texas Tech. I'm going to send, I don't know. I can't send all the 1 seeds. All right, so I'm going to do Florida over Texas Tech. I'm going to go Florida. Florida does kind of strike me as a team that could drop, their second round game to UConn, third Sweet 16 game to Maryland, even their Elite 8 game to Texas Tech. But just from all the good things I've heard, 30-4 in such a tough conference, I'm sending Florida against UNC in my Final Four. Then we have Duke and Bama. And everyone's riding Duke. Duke is the favorite. This is not a UConn year. UConn is not blowing every team up by 20 points. No. This Duke team plays teams close. So does Alabama. But I just personally cannot pick Alabama, I feel. I just feel like I can't pick Alabama. They're so good at football. They don't need to be good at basketball. Hopefully they don't pull off the upset. So we'll send Duke to my Final Four. It'll be interesting. We'll have to see. Then Houston, Kentucky. I've sent 2 1 seeds. I don't know if I can send another 1 seed. But also Kentucky, they might even lose round 1 to Troy. I have to prepare that some of my teams might lose in round 1. So Houston, they've been dominant so far. I don't know too much about them. I love when Jamal Sheed was on this team. He is my favorite player of all time on Houston. They got LJ Crowder, though, so he's a dog. And Kentucky, if they've made it this far, I think this is where they choke. I'm sending Houston, and yes, I've just done it, boys. 11 seed first 4 play-in team, and 3 number 1 seeds. That's just how it goes, and this is the most generic bracket I could have made, but I'm sending Duke to the semifinals. And I'm sending UNC versus Florida. I'm going to go with Florida. And then you know what? We'll have Florida beating Duke because I don't really know what to do at this point. So, oh my gosh. Another bracket where I'm not confident in it, but Florida versus Duke in the final. It's the same as everyone else. I should have eliminated them. But honestly, it could happen. So, some key upsets from Zachary's bracket before I send you on your way. Number 11 seeded UNC in the play-in, making the Final Four. That's crazy. Number 5 seed Michigan, making the Elite 8, for goodness sakes. Number 15 seed Wofford, making the Sweet 16. You also have the where are some other upset picks that I picked here? VCU at 11 seed. You also have, maybe I didn't pick too many upset seeds, but Colorado State, 12 seed. New Mexico 10 seed, Yale 13 seed. Not interesting stuff. But hey, I got Florida raising it. We're going to ride with the Florida boys. At the end of the day, I want Duke to win. But at the end of the day, this might not be the perfect bracket. So we're going to go with Florida to beat Duke. And guess what? That's my bracket. That's my bracket right there. I'm standing by it. Florida over Duke. I don't, this has come from someone who doesn't know much about college basketball and who made this on the fly right now. Now, mind you, if I'm incorrect about anything, I'm just going to bring up that I have an extra bracket because I'm Divas like that. But there you have it, folks. My live March Madness bracket made for all of you right here and now. And make sure to stay tuned. When you may be listening to this, we may be getting another episode in 24 hours when we drop our UFC London predictions. Got a fun card coming up. And hey, always got to love these special episodes. Building our official March Madness bracket. We'll, of course, be back next year to talk about this. And as well in the future episodes, we're going to be discussing every single game that took place. Not too in-depth, but just kind of talking about. So, as always, guys, have a great day. Have a great life. And as always, I'll catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.